Well, I hope she has a doctorate in front of her name before she pursues a recording career. Look, all of my daughters are just fantastic. They're all great girls, and they can all sing. They're all just really smart, and confident young ladies. So I just want them to do whatever.
Tim McGraw and Faith Hill's three daughters didn't just grow up in the spotlight. They quietly built lives that are wildly impressive on their own. Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey each took a totally different road. And honestly, that's what makes their story so fascinating. One went all in on performing, another chose brains and global impact, and the youngest is carving out a creative lane of her own. Lately, their journeys have taken some big headline-making turns that fans didn't see coming. And trust me, the deeper you look, the more surprising and inspiring it gets. How each daughter chose her own path. The three daughters of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill have grown into very different young women. And even though a famous family name opened many doors, each daughter has chosen a path shaped by personal dreams, personal work, and personal passion, which often makes people stop and ask how three sisters raised in the same home could grow in such different directions, yet still remain so deeply connected to music, art, and service. Gracie, the oldest, followed a strong love for performance from a young age, and after finishing school at New York University in 2018, a bold move to Los Angeles took place so that acting dreams could become something real instead of just a quiet wish. And that move came with a lot of emotion, especially for a father who later shared that the moment of dropping Gracie off had been filled with tears and a long drive home that felt heavy and lonely, which really showed how hard it can be for any parent to let go, even when pride is mixed in. In Los Angeles, Gracie did not waste time and soon landed a role on Tyler Perry's show If Loving You Is Wrong, playing Tanya from 2018 to 2020. And that role helped build a strong start in the acting world, while a warm family moment later appeared when Gracie and Faith Hill cooked together on Be My Guest with Ina Garten, which quietly reminded everyone that even busy careers cannot replace close family bonds, can they? Long before the move to Hollywood, Gracie had already been stepping into the spotlight, including a powerful duet with Tim McGraw in 2015 at Bridgestone Arena, and later it came out that Gracie had even formed a secret high school band called Tingo, booking shows without telling anyone at home, which made Faith Hill laugh later when the truth came out, proving that independence had always been part of Gracie's spirit. A video shared in 2019 of Gracie singing a Barbra Streisand and Barry Gibb song went viral and reminded the world that talent runs deep in the McGraw family. But Gracie did not stop there and continued growing, later stepping onto the off-Broadway stage in Babe and performing at Carnegie Hall, while also preparing for a film role in an indie movie called Talks, all of which showed that a love for acting and music can grow side by side. At the same time, Gracie also spoke openly about struggles with ADHD, anxiety, and depression, explaining how caring for a dog helped bring structure and calm into daily life, which made many people think about how even strong and successful people need simple routines to stay steady. Do they not? A return to theater in New York later showed that chasing real passion sometimes means stepping away from Hollywood lights and going back to the place that feels most true. Maggie, the middle daughter, chose a very different road, one shaped by books, science, and service rather than stages and spotlights. And after attending the Ensworth School in Nashville, Maggie went on to Stanford University, where studies focused on Earth systems and climate science, followed by a master's degree in sustainability, which made clear that protecting the planet mattered deeply. And Tim McGraw later shared how proud that hard work made any parent feel. Even while studying, Maggie still kept music close by, playing in a rock band called Sister Supply. And a father never missing a single show quietly proved that support does not disappear just because a child chooses a different career. Maggie later moved into policy and nonprofit work, taking on roles in Washington, D.C. with lawmakers and later becoming a key voice at Earth League International, an organization focused on environmental protection and intelligence sharing, which showed how passion for the planet can turn into real action. During the pandemic, Maggie also led Feed the Frontline in Nashville, helping provide meals to healthcare workers while supporting local restaurants. And that effort came from a deep belief that privilege carries responsibility, which made many people pause and think about how giving back can become a lifelong habit. A later appointment to the board of a Nashville hospice center in 2024 added another layer to Maggie's service work, proving that compassion and leadership can walk hand in hand, especially when someone truly believes that helping others is not optional. Audrey, the youngest, has been quietly building a creative life of her own, blending music, modeling, and acting in ways that feel natural rather than forced. And after graduating from the same Nashville school as her sisters, early plans for drama school opened the door to both stage and screen. Audrey soon appeared in a Tory Burch modeling campaign and later acted in a music video for Tim McGraw. But music soon became the center of focus, leading to a debut single in 2025 and a tour with Brandi Carlile across Europe, which is no small step for any young artist, is it? Audrey has sung for years, and videos shared by Tim McGraw showed a voice filled with emotion and strength, along with songwriting skills that started in the teenage years, even though sharing those early songs with famous parents once felt scary because pressure can grow when expectations are high. A moment when Tim praised an early song helped give Audrey confidence, and even though that song stayed private, the courage it sparked continues to shape new work, while piano clips and live performances now show a style that sounds a lot like Faith Hill, reminding many that talent can be inherited but still made new in every generation. Through all of this, Audrey has shown that building a career takes patience, honesty, and the courage to step forward, even when nerves try to hold someone back. Together, Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey prove that growing up in a famous home doesn't mean living in someone else's shadow. Each of them has quietly carved out a life that reflects who they truly are, not just who their parents are, making people everywhere question whether real success comes from fame or from following your heart. And the moments that shaped their public identity tell that story better than anything else. So stay with us till the very end, because every chapter reveals something powerful, moments that shaped their public identity. Public performances and shared family moments have slowly become some of the most important ways the McGraw sisters have shown the world who each person really is beyond a famous last name. And across the years, these moments have helped shape how Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey are seen not just as celebrity daughters, but as artists and adults finding individual paths. April 2025 stood out as a turning point for Gracie McGraw when a long-held dream became real on the stage of Carnegie Hall in New York City, a place many singers only imagine ever stepping into. And Gracie arrived there as part of a special production called American Heart in World War I, a reworked version of The Great War and The Great Gatsby that mixed history, music, and storytelling in a way that asked big questions about memory and sacrifice. The show was created and told by historian John Monsky and directed by Michael Mayer, and Gracie stood shoulder to shoulder with well-known Broadway voices like Adam Chandler Barat, Nicholas Christopher, Michaela Diamond, and Diego Andres Rodriguez, which already said a lot about how seriously the production took her talent. People who attended said Gracie carried a strong and calm presence, and when the song My Buddy, a jazz standard written back in 1922 by Gus Kahn, filled the room, Gracie's voice moved with ease across the melody, showing not only range, but also feeling. And many listeners quietly wondered how someone raised around country music could step so smoothly into a jazz style that asks for such control and depth. That moment felt even more emotional because Tim McGraw and Faith Hill were sitting in the audience, and when Gracie finished, both parents stood up to applaud, with Faith clearly moved, a sight that reminded many people that no matter how famous a family might be, moments like that still feel deeply personal. PBS later decided to film the whole performance for a Veterans Day special set to air on November 11, 2025, which meant Gracie's work would reach homes all over the country. And that kind of exposure can open doors that once seemed far away. After the show, Gracie shared a simple message online, posting a photo of the cast and writing that everyone did it together, and calling the group freaks in a loving way, which gave a small but honest look into how much the creative community meant. Tim McGraw also shared pride publicly, explaining that watching the oldest daughter perform in such a meaningful show made both parents feel deeply grateful, especially because the story honored people who served during the Great War, and such words showed that even big milestones still felt like family wins. While Gracie's moment came on a grand stage, Audrey's first big public step happened in a different but just as meaningful way back in August 2021, when the youngest daughter appeared in a music video for Tim McGraw's song 7,500 OBO. At just 19 years old, Audrey stepped into acting in a story that flipped the song's meaning into the view of a teenage girl rather than a man selling a truck tied to a lost love. And that creative choice gave Audrey a chance to show emotion and quiet strength on screen. Tim later said that the idea to cast Audrey did not even start with him, but after reading the video plan, no one else felt right for the role, which hinted at how well the story fit his daughter. Tim also shared that putting children in public projects was not something the family usually did, but after many talks, the choice felt right because it matched family values and how each daughter should be seen. Even light-hearted moments showed how hard it can be for a parent to watch a child grow up, especially when a short romantic scene appeared in the video, and Tim joked about wanting to stop the camera, which made fans smile because it felt so real. Faith Hill also shared pride by posting behind-the-scenes photos and saying how proud both parents felt watching the youngest child step into adulthood. A special YouTube after-party added even more attention to the video, helping Audrey's first acting role reach a wide audience and showing that the family knew how to support a new start while still letting Audrey shine. Family performances later became some of the most touching moments of all, especially on May 31st, 2025, when Tim McGraw returned to the stage at the first Music City Rodeo in Nashville after dealing with health issues, and this time all three daughters joined him. The group sang "Last Dollar, Fly Away," a song that already held meaning because the sisters had recorded background vocals for the original version as children, and now stood there as adults singing the same words. Behind them, old video clips flickered across the screen, showing the girls as wide-eyed kids in the studio. And the collision of those tender memories with who they are now sent a wave of emotion through the room. Even the sisters struggled to hold back tears as the past met the present in the most beautiful, heartbreaking way. But that moment was only the beginning of a much bigger story. Stay with us until the very end, because what happened to Tim McGraw's three daughters in 2025 will truly surprise you. What happened to Tim McGraw's three daughters in 2025? Throughout 2025, the McGraw sisters kept moving forward in ways that quietly but clearly showed how each path had grown far beyond the weight of a famous last name, and many people began to notice how every new step seemed to say more about personal purpose than public image. Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey all moved through the year in very different ways, yet a shared sense of focus and direction connected every milestone. Each sister seemed to be walking into a more confident version of adulthood, and many found it interesting to see how growth showed up in such different forms. How did one family produce such different stories in a single year? That question lingered as every chapter of 2025 unfolded. For Gracie, June became one of the most talked about moments of the year. During Pride Month, a short message shared online sparked a much bigger conversation. Gracie posted a bright and joyful message that read, "Everyone get more gay now," followed by a personal caption that said, "Happy freaking Pride. I love being queer." The tone was bold, playful, and full of pride. But media outlets quickly turned the post into something more dramatic. Several headlines framed the message as if some kind of sudden announcement had just happened, which led Gracie to step in and correct the story. Gracie explained that the message was not some new revelation at all. Gracie made it clear that life had already been lived openly and proudly for years. The words shared made it clear that being queer and bisexual had long been part of personal identity, not something just discovered. Gracie also spoke about people who did not have support at home and reminded everyone that there was a larger community filled with love and care. That part of the message carried a deeper weight. How many young people needed to hear something like that? The reminder felt like a warm hand reaching out to anyone feeling unseen. Gracie also took time to point out the deeper history behind Pride, sharing a message that said Pride began as a riot led by Black and brown trans activists. The note that followed urged everyone not to forget where the movement started. That moment showed not only pride in identity, but also respect for history and the people who made space for future generations. Even though Tim McGraw and Faith Hill did not speak publicly about the post, earlier signs of support were already known. Faith had shown support for the LGBTQ+ community years earlier, and Tim had just celebrated Gracie's birthday not long before with words full of love, pride, and warmth. That message spoke of heart, soul, respect, and talent, and anyone reading could feel how strong that bond remained. Was it not clear that family support did not need to be loud to be real? While Gracie stood tall in personal truth, Audrey stepped into a year that changed professional life in a big way. May marked the beginning of a serious music journey when Audrey released a debut single, a cover of Neil Diamond's I Am, I Said. Audrey described feeling something deep when first hearing the song and shared how a quiet moment at the piano turned it into something personal. That simple story of connection showed how music had become more than just a hobby. Tim McGraw shared his excitement with a short and proud message about the first single, making it clear that this was a big family moment. Only weeks later, Audrey released 2 more songs, and soon after came an invitation that many artists only dream of. Audrey joined Brandi Carlile on the Lost Time tour across Europe. That meant standing on stages in places like London's Royal Albert Hall, a venue known around the world. By July, the tour ended in Gardone Riviera, Italy, marking the close of Audrey's first international run. Tim and Faith traveled across Europe to watch several shows, including one in Copenhagen, and a short video later shared showed Audrey on stage, while a message reflected on how quickly time moves. One day, a child takes first steps, and the next day, a stage welcomes those same steps. That image stayed with many people. Critics took notice too. A review from a Paris show praised Audrey for earning a place on the tour through talent rather than family name. Words like infectious and remarkable filled the review, and excitement about a future album followed. In June, a third single called Speak came out, described as gentle and haunting, adding more depth to Audrey's growing style. Influences from artists like Nina Simone, Jeff Buckley, and Linda Ronstadt began to appear in sound and tone. Collaborations with producer David Barron and artist Lucas Nelson also hinted at where the music might go next. After Europe, performances continued back in the United States, including a show in New York City where both parents were in attendance. How often did dreams feel that close to becoming something real? While music and personal identity played out in public view for Gracie and Audrey, Maggie spent the year working quietly but powerfully behind the scenes. Maggie stayed focused on environmental justice, serving as a lead intelligence research and policy advisor for Earth League International. The work involved studying environmental crime, sharing information with leaders, and helping protect vulnerable areas. A background in government and a master's degree in sustainability helped guide this effort. In September, Maggie co-authored a report on climate resilience for coastal communities, mixing science with real-world solutions. That work drew attention from policymakers, and later appearances at major environmental gatherings added to the impact. A feature toward the end of the year highlighted Maggie's role in connecting research, policy, and communities. Even without bright lights or loud applause, the work carried deep meaning. Was there not something powerful about helping protect the future in that way? By the end of 2025, each McGraw's sister had written a chapter that stood on its own. Gracie spoke with honesty and heart. Audrey built a voice through music and courage. Maggie shaped change through science and policy. Together, the year became a quiet but strong reminder that growth does not come from a name, but from choices, work, and belief in what matters most. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.